Okay. Yeah.
All right. Good evening. This is the April 8th Conservation Commission meeting, and I have a statement to read in. Good evening. This open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely via Zoom teleconference, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order as of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. While still ensuring public access, this order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. You can find the order posted on the town's website. Regardless of our inability to meet in person, it is our intent to ensure continued transparency and the ability of the public to at least view the actions of the commission. Ensuring public access does not require public participation unless such participation is required by law. Tonight's public meeting will not feature public comment, as all public hearings will be continued in accordance with legislation passed on April 3rd, 2020. Please note this meeting is being recorded. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you and that you take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. And another note from tonight, Nicole is acting as a full member as we have two absent, Joyce and Mike. Before we start the meeting, I'd like to thank Pam and Chris for all their hard work. They're putting in a ton of overtime right now. And Jen and Wanda, this is new for everybody, but you guys have been pivotal in this. You know, we can't say enough good things about you, and we thank you very much. So the first thing we're going to have here is at 6:30, Conservation Commission time, 18 minutes late as usual, is 14 Lincoln Road. And that's going to be continued to May 6th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. And I'd take a motion on that.
I motion to table 14 Lincoln Road until May 8th at 6:30.
Second.
We need to continue that, not table it. We need to
Oh,
continue.
I'm sorry, continue.
Okay. And you second that, Bill?
Second, yes.
Okay. So Zach makes the motion. Bill makes the second. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye. 4-0-0. All right, so our next hearing is not going to be until 6:50, which is in 1 minute. So we'll go to the minutes for April 1st, 2020.
Bill wants making a motion to accept the minutes of April 1st, 2020.
I'll second it.
All right, so Bill Wentz made the motion, Zach seconded. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote aye. So that is as well 4-0. All right, it is now 6:50 on my oven clock. The hearing is going to be for 8 Davis Circle. Helen Largest, crew owner.
Do we have to read that in?
Is that a new NOI, Jen? Because
Let me check.
this, I think it's a new RDA, so it needs to be read in.
Yes.
Let me see if I can pull it.
Yep. So you're open for the purpose of continuing. Yes. So you would need to read that hearing notice. And I can probably find it for you too.
Yeah, if you could share that with me, because I can't seem to be pulling that up.
I'll look for it for you. Choo, 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 choo. Okay. And see that right here, public hearings. And that is Davis Circle.
Yes.
All right. Actually, you want me to just read it?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Let me read it. All right, the Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 8th, 2020 at 6:50 p.m. at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a request for determination of applicability submitted to the Conservation Commission by Helen Largest Crew of Sutton, Mass. The project consists of removal of a damaged concrete pier and slab on map 16, parcel 36, on 8 Davis Circle, Sutton, Massachusetts. This notice is publicized in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw.
Excellent. And just for the, transparency reasons, I just want to comment that I did issue a emergency certificate for this filing. It was an old concrete structure in the lake bed that had been knocked over with ice, and there was rebar hanging out of it right next to a dock. And it was just an unsafe scenario. If kids jumped in, they get cut on the rebar. So they were going to pull it out on the emergency certificate because of the rising water level, and then file the RDA, I guess, tonight, which is going to be in May. So just so everybody knows that.
Bill wants making a motion to continue 8 Davis Circle to May 6th at 6:31 p.m.
I'll second it.
All right, so Bill made the motion and Zach seconded. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So it's 4-0.
Can you all see that I brought up the map?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, good.
Yep, we can see it. All right, so I'd like to go back to board business. We probably don't have any departmental project import forms, but I'd like Jen to kind of elaborate on the legislation that was passed last week. Jen, if you could elaborate on that.
Sure, absolutely. On Friday, Governor Baker signed legislation into place, and among other things, the legislation contains some relief for town boards and commissions like yourself in terms of time deadlines that many boards and commissions are up against in terms of new filings. As you know, you have 21-day deadlines on getting hearings scheduled and making decisions, and it's one of the shortest deadlines out there in the state of Massachusetts. So the legislation basically says that you have that any hearings shall be suspended as of March 10, 2020, and will continue up to 45 days after the termination of the state of emergency. There may be some flexibility in that. You may be able to choose whether or not you do that, but the way the commentary from council, KP Law, came in is it uses the word shall, which is not optional. So there is some clarification coming on that, whether you have to, in every case, push hearings that are ongoing and new hearings out to after the state of emergency, or you can choose to. But right now we're going with that advice, which is you need to do that, push them out. So existing permits will not lapse during the state of emergency. So if you had any that were due to expire, that is stayed until after the state of emergency is over. And nobody can file for a constructive approval because you are not scheduling a hearing before the commission. So nobody may file because you are not acting within the 21 days that you are otherwise supposed to act within. And then there is some provisions in there about the chairman being able to act on his own to do their scheduling and rescheduling of hearings. We are fortunate we have a great communications crew and a very competent commission. So we are able to get together, and I'll do that as a majority of the commission, as opposed to the chairman having to do it himself. And then you actually can deny, you can revoke, modify permits if need be. So if you have something going sideways on a site, you can actually revoke those permits if you need to do that. You just cannot revoke a permit because work was supposed to be done during this state of emergency and it didn't get done. But if something is going crazy out there and you need to act, you actually can do that. And then it just, the law just reinforces the ability of commissions and boards and public bodies to meet online and to participate remotely, encourages that, and basically says, other than hearing issues where the public needs to have input, that you're encouraged to continue with things like pre-application meetings or signing things that don't need public hearing actions. It's my understanding that right now we're not doing any more commission meetings until May. And then as we approach that, the commission will need to decide if the state of emergency gets continued, how they're going to handle business kind of moving forward. So right now, I think your next meeting is the one you're continuing to, and there won't be any other commission meetings until then anyways. So basically, the legislation just gives you some relief, doesn't allow anybody to get constructive approvals, and really just pushes business, hearing business for a month to give everybody a breather and to be able to stay safe and stay socially separated. So that's pretty much a summary of that, the municipal permitting portion of that legislation.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. All right, so did we schedule, what time did we schedule the 6:50 hearing to be rescheduled for? Was that at 6:50 for?
6:31.
6:31. Are we gonna do it at one minute increments?
If
I
that's
think
all right
that-
with everybody else.
Yeah, I think that's the best plan for now, just
Okay.
just in my personal opinion.
Does anybody on the board oppose that? Okay. So I think we need to, we didn't officially reschedule that hearing, did we, Jen?
I do not believe it, no.
Okay. So I need a motion to reschedule that hearing to continue that hearing.
I thought I did make the motion on that one.
Did you give a time on it though, Bill?
6:31.
You did, okay.
8 Davis Circle, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I can make,
Yes. I'm sorry, he did make that motion.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. That's all.
So now
all right.
we are ready for that next one.
Yep, we're ready for 7 p.m., which is going to be 27 Oak Drive. Jen, would you read that in?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All righty.
Here comes Mike, you guys.
Great.
Mike's inbound.
27 Oak Drive, Andy?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a hearing on Wednesday, April 8th, 2020 at 7 p.m. at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Uxbridge Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a request for determination of applicability submitted to the Conservation Commission by Daniel McNamara of Sutton, Mass. The project consists of removal of one large shagbark hickory tree on map 15, parcel 67 at 27 Oak Drive. This notice is has been published in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as the Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Obviously, these public hearing notices were advertised and sent out to abutters before everything went to telecommunication. I will verify legally if it's okay to continue these hearings as we're doing right now. I didn't realize until just now when I was reading this that this said it will be held at the town hall. I think we're okay, but I'll just double check. And if for some reason there's a problem with that, then I'll help Wanda renotice these abutters and newspaper.
Yeah, and if these do need to be re-advertised, it would not be the responsibility of the applicant. We will take care of that.
Awesome.
Just I have one comment on Oak Drive before continuing. Is that tree anything a eminent danger that we should not wait on an emergency certificate?
So background on that one as well. Dan McNamara had reached out to Wanda and I had spoke to Dan. I went and looked at it. It needed to come down. That was public danger. So I wrote an emergency certificate on that one as well. So that I think has already been taken down. It was scheduled for tonight to go over the replanting. This one really needs to be replanted. I went on site. It's probably a nesting tree for several species of birds, just so everybody knows. So just keep that in mind for the next hearing.
Make a motion to continue 27 Oak Drive to 6:32 PM on May 6th.
If I could interject for a minute. Dan McNamara came to wanted me earlier this week. He wants to build a farmer's porch on the back of his house. It's going to come out about 6 feet, which is already his existing like patio or lawn to begin with. And I gave him some advice. I said that really what you need to do is put some kind of drip edge, or if you're going to do gutters, put it to a driveway. That's really what the commission's looking for. And he wanted to know if he needed to file another RDA for that, or if he could just piggyback it onto the one he already had. I personally don't have a problem letting him piggyback that on to this one with a tree, because I don't think there's need for him. It's so simple in my mind that I don't think he needs to pay the money to have me review it. But, you know, do you think it's appropriate for him to do that?
Yeah, I think if we review our mission, I think that follows that guideline that he's going to put it all on one and will achieve the ultimate goal.
Okay. So for the next meeting, he should send in some new materials for that farmer's porch.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Should I read the continuation to include the farmer's porch, or probably not, right?
Yeah, why don't you just, well,
Yeah.
no, because there was no description of anything before, right?
There was
Yeah, there's
not,
no,
this
There's
was
no
kind of,
tree.
it originally came in for a tree, and the farmer's porch is an afterthought.
So I'm going to withdraw my motion. I'm going to make a motion to continue 27 Oak Drive to 6:32 PM to include discussion of the tree and the addition of a farmer's porch.
I'll take a second.
I'll second it.
All right, so Bill made the motion, Zach second. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So that passes 5-0. All right, and now I think we're all caught up, so we're going to recess until 7:10. Just so everybody knows, as we talked about before, everybody's going to be muted. We're good.
Okay. Chris?
Are we back on?
Back on.
All right. For the first time in history, Conservation Commission is on time with a public hearing. It's now 7:10 PM, 188 Mendon Road, Rauf with Alpha Omega. And this is going to be addressed on May 6th. So we're going to need to continue on for a new, oh, it needs to be read in. I'm sorry. Jen, could you read this in?
I think on this one, let me just take a look at that agenda. Yes, they have not officially, their hearing ad was pulled out of the newspaper. So we will be advertising them for the first time for May 6th. So you
Okay.
don't need to read this one or continue it.
Okay. So we don't need to do anything with this one?
No, you don't need to do anything with this one.
All right. I am just going to say to my fellow board members, we're going to have a ton of site visits and stuff to catch up on after this is done. And if everybody could please, and we should make it a board policy, have a copy of these plans, whether it be electronic on an iPhone or a paper copy with you when you do site visits. Because, you know, we're dealing with people that are going to be trying to play catch up, and human nature is to make mistakes. So we can't really go on people's projects without knowing what we're doing. So I'm going to ask all our board members, if you're going to do site visits, know what we're doing and have a copy of these plans.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, I think we're going to have to recess until 7:20.
Did we actually make a motion to move it?
You actually don't need to. The hearing act was pulled. It did go out to the abutters, but it was pulled out of the newspaper. So this one's going to be re-advertised. So the
Okay.
abutters new notice. This
Okay.
is Jen Hager talking, by the way. Okay, I'm going to put up the recess notice.
We live?
Yeah, you're good.
All right. Next up is 720, 34 Providence Road for a new notice of intent. Glenn Kravosky with EBT. Jen, would you mind reading that in for me?
Sure. The Sutton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 1st, 2020 at 7:20 at the Sutton Town Hall, 4 Oxford Road, Sutton, Mass. The purpose of this hearing is to review a notice of intent submitted to the Conservation Commission by 34 Providence Road Development Corp. of Sutton. The project consists of constructing 5 storage bins for aggregate within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland on map 6, parcel 276 on 34 Providence. This notice is publicized in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, commonly known as Wetlands Protection Act, and the Sutton Wetlands Protection Bylaw.
Make a motion to move 34 Providence Road to May 6th at 6:33 PM.
I'll second it.
All right, so Bill made the motion, Zach seconded. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mike, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well, so it's 5-0. And just for the record on that, this is Providence Road, Boston Road. This is Glenn's area, so I would have no second thoughts about him doing any work in this area. On something different, just to talk about real quick, before we go to recess. I don't know if any of you have checked out the Merrill Pond State Reservation, which is in between West Sutton Road and Boston Road. Now that we're social distancing, my wife and son and I and my niece and nephew did a hike out there, and it is absolutely beautiful. So I can recommend that for people that are trying to get away from the housebound thing that's going on now. And we can go ahead and recess until 7:40.
7:40.
7:40. Unless anybody else had something. No, 7:40 it is.
Yes.
There it is.
All set.
All right. Next up is going to be 7:40 PM, which is, do we have a quorum?
We do.
There's three of us. Yeah, we have a quorum. Okay. Next up is 7:40 PM, which is 583 Mendon Road. So this application has been withdrawn, and we can vote to allow the withdrawal without prejudice.
I'm going to make a motion to allow the withdrawal of 583 Mendon Road without prejudice.
I'll second it.
Okay. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I as well vote aye. So that's 4-0 on that. All right, so that's the end of the regular meeting. Once again, I'd really like to thank Pam, Chris, Jen, and Wanda. This is new to everybody, and to kind of go with the curve of things and work extra hard. You know, a lot of times this hard work goes unnoticed. I worked in a thankless job for years. I still do. I work in a thankless job currently, and you know, to kind of put these people up on a pedestal is the least we should do. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
On the flip side of it, you know, as board members and stuff, if you can't go to the curve and kind of work with the boards, and you got to think what you're doing and what your position is on these. So, and that's about it. And I think I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
All right. So Bill made the motion. Zach seconded. Bill, how do you vote?
Aye.
Zach, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nicole, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. So it's 4-0 to adjourn. All right. Everybody have a
Stay-
good night and
Stay
stay
safe,
safe.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye,
too.
guys. Thank you.
Yeah.